Do you enjoy playing whack-a-mole? Is your favorite weapon in an MMO a toy hammer? Do you hate dying to fall damage? Well, I have the guide for you. My name is Myler, and I'll run you through the basics and some tips and tricks and scholars so you can bring it to your favorite RNG Node War. So, first up, I'll run you through all the tedious stuff, the gear, the add-ons, and like give a basic rundown of what's happening. Then I go into combos and how to play large scale, and then I'll conclude it with some movement. My Uncapped loadout has mostly AP crystals and a few hitstutter ones, like bitterness. As a Lightstones, I'd recommend Rigid Shield for Uncapped, but you can run Blight as well, which is 3 human damage and an iridescent Lightstone. But you usually die in these. As for Reforgestones in Uncapped, I run all AP, all damage reduction, down attack damage, critical hit damage, and Black Spirit recovery. For Capped, I'd recommend running Tetsuda belt and necklace at least. These crystals, Crocodile's Tooth in your artifacts, and Kaburs. And in Reforgestones, I'd recommend back attack, down attack, air attack, critical hit extra damage, and Black Spirit rage recovery. For Capped Siege, I'd slightly change them for more health focus, because the health in Capped Siege is uncapped. And drop air attack in the Reforgestones for HP. As for add-ons, these are my uncapped add-ons. These are capped, and these are for 1v1. As for why we're using just high stat value crystals, especially the Rigid Shield, are just the total AP numbers and DR numbers we get out of the class kit. It's together with the self buffs, it's 35 AP, 40 DR, and accuracy on top of it. So basically, as long as you press EC every 15 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, depending on which one you lose, you're always gonna have those stats available. Since the recent patch, the attack speed buff got baked into your movement anyway, so you're gonna have high uptime on that without even looking. But just in case you want to like know for sure, WE and Q are the ones that provide it. As for locked abilities, you can lock Hammer Strike or RMB if you're on PC. And if you want to do an alternative combo that I'm not gonna show today, you can lock Golden Blockade, which is the flow of WE. Otherwise you don't have to lock anything. Or you shouldn't lock anything. As for Rabams, for PvP you'd always run Gravity Rush, Golden Path, and Golden Boon. And Golden Boon is by far the best one as it gives you a 30-second slow immunity on a low cooldown. The only thing you have to lock at all times are the 200% BSR and the 100% BSR, as they are both very bad. The 50% is very niche and optional, but both the 10% and 20% are used very often. So you have to get used to their timings as well. Hotbar wise, you need to slot the Golden Boon Rabam, the E-buff, Particle Acceleration, or class buff rather, as you can see, which is also stat checking a lot. If you do a lot of capped, obviously the Asadal belt and necklace. You can hotbar Gravity Storm, but it doesn't really do anything. You need to hotbar Gravity Press, and you need to hotbar Repulsion, as it can be activated from hotbar. And it comes in handy. The core concept of the class is to stat check and trade people down. And also bait people with your cancels to do mistakes or like reactively punish them. For example, the best tools for that are spacebar, as it can basically cancel your entire kit, and C. Whereas C is a bit special, because if you use it from an awakening ability, it does an alternate animation to when it is used from awakening into... from pre-awakening into awakening. by far, spacebar is the ability that does most of the heavy lifting, as it's a iframe into KDSA, which is completely crazy. As you can tell, like, it is a good long enough iframe where you can reactively use it into grabs. And some of them actually get punished by the KD as well, if you time it well. If you do it reactively in the later parts though, you're always gonna have them run away. You also need to be careful, as some people that wait for you can actually grab the ending SA after the KD happens. Another great tool to catch people is the gravity anchor, as it can knock back, and it serves as movement and our attack speed buff nowadays. So you basically use it as movement, with its tiny gaps still, but you can still use it as a catch as well. And as long as you cancel it with spacebar every time, you're always gonna get the knockdown off of it. Even if people are like behind you, you can just camera turn. In general, spacebar is very important to camera turn a lot, because it makes it harder for people to grab you. If you run hammer spin core, it is very important after 2 hits to cancel. Otherwise, people are gonna grab the ending animation of it. And if you don't cancel in that time frame, you're not gonna be able to KD sometimes. Those are the most quote-unquote safe catches you have. After that, it gets a bit more risky. I like to really use hammer smash core, and it has like a few tricks associated with it. For example, it always flows out of WC, your gravity rush. So you can do WC shift LMB and then cancel the second hit, as it has only knockdown on the first hit. So you'd always do something like WC shift LMB C, WC shift LMB side dash, or WC shift LMB backdash. The flow of backdash gravity storm works to cancel it as well. You can also use spacebar, and I'd only recommend it if you just want quick damage. But it doesn't cap, as you can tell. This works on players as well. It won't cap if you insta-cancel with spacebar. That's a good side note if you panic and you didn't expect somebody to come and you just want a spacebar. You can also fast cast shift LMB out of C Awakening, but that leaves you with less cancels, so you're gonna be very dash heavy if you try to cancel a RCC with that. But a good, like, a good way to use it is side dash C, shift LMB, and just weave it into your movement basically. The only thing you did that differently from like regular movement was weaving and shift LMB. Which brings me to the next good catch that is slightly risky though, which is SF, a hammer throw. This ability. It is quite quirky, because in melee it doesn't hit. It only hits at the apex where the explosion is, so roughly this distance is always gonna hit, but if you sneak it slightly behind the enemy, it's also gonna go through frontal guards and punish them, which is very strong. As you can tell, just SF spacebar catches it barely at the apex, but it's way easier, especially with moving targets, to just hold SF and insta spacebar for the guaranteed knockdown. Another neat trick for extra damage, especially against evasion targets, is Shift F, which is your evasion debuff. It's called Hammer Fall. And it behaves the same way that Hammer Smash does. So it gets fast cast out of C Awakening, out of WC. And it is a very good ability to use if you're like 1v1ing or 1vxing against gauntlets or other evasion targets. And last but not least, the most obvious catch everybody loves and hates, the grab. The best grab engages are usually QQ into grab. For the enemy, you're basically invisible for the entire travel duration, which is very strong. Anybody that doesn't know this engage is gonna get caught by it a lot. The other thing you can do, for example, from a very far distance away, is Rabam WF grab. Especially if you angle it and people aren't playing in crop mode, it's very easy to punish people that are doing stationary animations. And the other thing you can do is you throw the anchor and you pretend that you're running away. Then you TP and grab. Obviously, if people are knocked back, you have to aim properly. And yeah, these are like the grab engages, but you also have to be very careful with how you use the grab. Because any target that has like any sort of non-collision movement is not gonna get hit by it. So the trick to avoid it is like, what I do is I have the camera roughly at the distance where the grab travel is. And I just always use it on max distance. So basically you want your grab to do the entire travel distance. And then you aim at whoever you wanna like grab. So I have the crosshair on max distance, and he lands in my hands. This is kind of the trick to get around that. This is the only way you're gonna grab anybody that has a lot of movement that has no collision. Like, for example, Musa Chase, even in SA is gonna be no collision. So unless you're like max distancing it, you're just gonna TP through them. So, we've gone through the catches, how the class functions in a way. Let's go through some 1v1 combos. My bread and butter combo for 1v1s is grab, E into E flow, into WF, F flow, Shift F, SLMB, and then a Magnus. If you down smash twice, you can also go for a reset. Another combo that requires pre-buffs is grab, RMB, SRMB 2 times, SE, F flow, Shift F, SLMB, Magnus. This combo is very solid, but you always need to pre-buff before using it. Another good combo, which also needs attack speed pre-buff, but works with hammer spin core, is grab, E flow, Shift LMB 1 hit, C, Shift C, spacebar, Shift F, SLMB, Magnus. For large scale, it's slightly different. As you don't really grab anybody in large scale, you'd usually, for example, think like there's a blob at the target dummy. You do Shift Q, travel, spacebar, SLMB, Magnus. If they down smash, you can't even do anything anymore, you just gotta get out. If it doesn't down smash, you can try and re-KD with Shift LMB core, or with Shift C core, you can at least do the spin. Shift Q, spacebar, SLMB, Magnus, SE, C, Shift LMB, side dash, and then spin, for example. If you want to extend and you didn't down smash. In large scale, you can also do a few more SAs, but they're slightly riskier because of the cancel animations and how long you're locked into them. But you can, if you're like really greedy, you can Shift RMB, Shift Z. You can also jump on people like this. It does a slight bit of damage. Same with repulsion. So always aim your movement at people as well, if you can. But for the most part, it's all tied into home run, Magnus, SE, and Shift C. And obviously spacebar. The playstyle changes slightly depending if you're in capped or uncapped. In capped, you can basically use your entire SA kit unless somebody's 200% absorbed. In uncapped instead, you have to be very careful. So what I usually recommend doing is just Shift Q, spacebar, Q Magnus instead of SLMB Magnus. Maybe do an SE, and then try and get out. It is gonna kill most squishies that way, and you're not leaving yourself open to getting one-shot by some ranger. So now that we've gone through all of how to do damage, let's actually get to the targets and see how we can actually apply that damage effectively. The class has like a lot of movement, and I usually split it into SA movement, which is WC, WF, WRMB, and the QQ. I kind of put it into the same vein because it has a tiny gap at the end, which gets caught by bongos and Spiral and Battlecry. stuff like that, anything that's multi-hit-CC. So, for example, I just move around a lot with SA on the floor, and as soon as I'm like close to a blob, I'd shift Q and then do my damage, obviously, right? And then when I get out, I try and use SA abilities if I can, but if I'm in the blob, I always try to use the shift-based stuff. So, as you can tell on the stamina bar already, the more you move around with the shift-based stuff, the more your stamina is gonna drain. But as long as you use QQ and WC on cooldown, you're gonna notice that the stamina barely moves and it's basically only locked. Especially if you put in like a few SA abilities here and there. You can barely tell that I'm standing still, right? It basically becomes infinite stamina at that point. So you always have to gauge when you engage, like how low your stamina bar is. So you know that you can actually get out still. But this is the hardest part about the class. You need to get used to managing your stamina in a way by just keeping WC and QQ on cooldown. And then you gotta gauge how much you can get away with your SA movement while you're in the blob. So a good trick to do is to just use your movement and do laps around your preferred town. Be that Heidel or Velia, doesn't really matter. And you just use all your movement. And you just keep doing this until you have it down to muscle memory. That's how I learned it. Obviously everybody learns differently, right? You might just pick it up in like a day anyway, if you're like taking a more complicated class usually. But I used to play like stuff like Guardian and Musa, so it was a lot of work to get it down to muscle memory. As you can tell, like, as long as you use QQ on cooldown, your stamina is not gonna suffer. Is the TLDR. Obviously QQ, like I'm gonna run low now, right? So I can just SE for a second. Oh, WC is up again, okay. So I just do like slower stuff now that just animation locks. And I have WC again. And it keeps going like this forever, basically. You're gonna slow down eventually slightly, right? But like Shift C, SLMB into the flow, the Magnus, like all of that stuff is gonna still move you forward somewhat. So eventually you're gonna outrun a lot of classes as well. Yeah, this is like the practice that I did every time when I was feeling off. Be that either like after the Splendid upgrade or otherwise. And you don't have to like even do this like, I don't know, like take a time of your day. You can just do this before Nodewars, right? There's always like 5 to 10 minutes where you're just AFKing anyway. Just run a few laps. You'll get the hang of it in no time. But yeah, it is also fully protected, as you can tell. So this would be like long distance super movement. Like I ran out like after what now? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? It's awesome. This should cover everything. All that's left for you is to practice and put it all down to muscle memory. In case I missed something, you can reach me through Discord, the comments, or my Twitch channel, which I will all link down below. Enjoy your time with the merry jumping menace of a bonker. Bye bye!